Hello everyone, how are you doing? Is all right? Welcome to Newcastle Fans TV on deadline day. So we've got a few departures to talk about tonight. I'm inviting you on as well. If you do want to come on, check the pinned comment in the live chat and you can come through and speak to me directly. You can talk about anything from with matches to predominantly transfers on today's show, whether you want to talk about the deadline, Martin Dubravka perhaps, or you want to talk about the transfer window in whole. Please let us know if you want to come on the show, check the pinned comment, or you can jump in the live chat, which we've got a couple of comments already coming through. Aaron, I hope you're doing well, pal. Wish Dubravka all the best and sorry to see him go. Looks like nothing coming in. Was hoping to get another midfielder and a winger on loan at least. And good luck to Martin Dubravka, says Luke Hall. Yeah, Dubravka's already got on his social media as I support Man United and cheering them on already, which is a bit quick to jump the gun, I expect for Newcastle fans. But yeah, please like the video if you can do, everybody. I am in the office. I'm on my own. Other people on the channel couldn't make it. Some chose to ignore us. Some people are busy, but hey, you get the content from me. I am the workhorse on this channel. I will bring you content, everybody. But yeah, I hope you're doing well. I really do hope you're doing well. I'm feeling a little bit better. I had a bit of man cold and the Liverpool game and everything and the traveling. I'm still a little bit exhausted. I ain't going to lie. So hopefully I have a nice rest tomorrow from making videos. But I'm with you tonight. Stop the complaining, Lee. Come on. Conor Gallagher, yeah, great question, says Peter. It doesn't look like anything's happening because we are closing it in within 20 minutes. So I can't see that going. Federico Fernandez deal that has just gone through, Joseph. So we will be talking about that as well. A lot of people saying nice stuff about Martin Dubravka as well. Connor, I hope you're doing well, pal. Evening late. Shame we couldn't get at least a loan in today. I think we need a midfielder in. Yeah. Scott's gone out and said it doesn't look like any more business. Big gutted, but happy with all the new signings as well. And James Riley, yeah, from Motorhome Happiness Mad. That's a bit of a tongue twister, but great to have you on board. So get straight to the chase. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at the official news, which has gone through today with Newcastle United. So we'll jump straight to their website, and we'll go through a couple of the deals that have gone through. So the first one being is the youngster Lucas Dabole. He's obviously joined, and now he's a good midfielder, and he's joined Hamilton Academicals. For me to say, probably haven't seen that right. We'll just say Hamilton, talented under 23 midfielder, and you can read the statement there. Lucas Dabole has joined Scottish Champions side Hamilton. Come on, Lee. Academical on a season-long loan after signing a 2-year contract with Newcastle. That was the key thing there, that he signed a two-year deal before he head out on loan. The ball has gone on to say at the club's website, I'm very happy to sign my deal at the club where I played for the last 6 years, and the club and the family have always supported. I've always dreamt of playing in the Premier League, Newcastle, and this is a contract and a step in that right direction. Hopefully in the future that I can do that. Very pleased to sign with Hamilton on loan. I feel like I've had a good pre-season going out on loan now, and it'll be great for me to gain experience playing in men's professional football, as well as being around first-team environment. The experience I will get with Hamilton at my age is important for the rest of my career. So yes, good for him that he's got his loan move. As I say, a talented midfielder. I've seen him at the under-21s for a couple of years now. Very laid back when he gets on the ball. Good pass of the ball. Box-to-box midfielder. So it's good for him. And it's strange because his roots are all over the place because he's got, like, I think it's a Belgian mum or a Scottish. It's one of the, he's either got a Belgian dad or a Belgian mum, and the other one's Scottish, I think. And then obviously he's brought up in the area as well. But yeah, good for him as well. Hi, Andrew, pal. Andrew, if you want to jump on, you can come on if you want, pal. Lee, I hope you're feeling better. Mate, love the commitment. Thank you very much. Feeling a little bit better. Smash that. I'll do this in a Steve accent if I can get you to smash that like. Smash that goddamn like button and subscribe, lads and lasses. That was more Texas. I apologize, Steve. My accents are absolutely awful. 8 out of 10. The transfer window says Wolfson. That was shocking, wasn't it? That was absolutely shocking. Isak has more goals than Anfield than Nunes and Salah. Yes, actually seen Darwin Nunes. He actually walked straight past us yesterday. Him and Thiago literally passed me and Sam yesterday. Yeah, so we'll go back and we'll move on to the next piece of business, which we'll talk about as well, which of course is the big one, a Steve accent. Yeah, man, soccer had goal. Which is the big one, which is Martin Dubravka. So I do want to talk about that as well. Actually, before we do that, I've got Jay in Atlanta. It's good to see Jay. We'll bring Jay in first. I'll stop sharing the screen. I'll bring him in. Hello, Jay. How are you?
Hello, hello.
Are you good?
I'm doing real well. Yourself? Alone in the studio. That's no good.
Late at night, man. They're too scared to come out and play. That's why. They don't want to travel in and do videos, you know. I mean, I kind of blame them, kind of. But yeah, Jay, what do you make of the transfer window as a whole this summer?
I think we saw a lot of positioning from a lot of teams. I think the World Cup being in the middle of the season is unprecedented, obviously, but I think we've seen a lot of teams. A lot of people talk about panic buys and people here at the end. I think people are expecting injuries, and I think we can expect more of what we've seen across that. The Premier League has spent oodles of money compared to everybody else, right? I mean, and I think that's teams trying to insure themselves against the inevitable injury. As far as our window, I'm happy with it, but I'm a top 10 cup run kind of guy. If you really had your money on Europe, I could see why you might not be as content with our window. What do you think?
I think you've seen that on the channel as well. We're talking about a winger. I think that's probably the only thing that we're a little bit like, because if you look at you talk about the injuries right now, and then you look to the bench and who's going to come off the bench to push you that little step forward, who's a game changer, and unfortunately, you look at it, think Jacob Murphy.
No, not for me. Fraser, as much as anything, played well last night, and we haven't seen a lot of him. I don't think we'll have to go as deep against every team. I mean, we've played more than half our matches have been against teams that are in the top 6 right now. And I don't think we're going to have to go to the physical wall with everybody all the time. But to run with the big boys, we're going to have to go to the wall. And, we don't have the strength on the bench, as everybody knows. I still feel very confident about our chances. My wish list at the beginning of the summer, I'm on record, was like, I want a goalie, I want a defender, and I want a striker. And I got everything on my wish list from Santa Claus early, right? So I can't complain about that. But yeah, we're now at a point where we can look with a finer lens at different areas in the team, and we can ask questions about what are we going to do? We don't have our best lineup out there, right? And it's obvious that we're still pretty good, but if we are tired by 60 or 65 minutes, the bench isn't going to come on and recover a game for us. The best we can expect is for them to hold out.
Yeah, and you see that last night. I mean, the lads put in an unbelievable performance. Yes, it was a sucker punch to concede right to death there, but
my wife was like, "What are you yelling at?" And I'm like, I got off a work call. It was a mess. But now I'm not mad. I'm over it. Like, look what we just did to Liverpool. They should be embarrassed. Like they should be. If you're a Liverpool fan and think that went well for you, you don't know a damn thing about this game. With not even our best lineup, we owned them in the first half. And then the only reason that the game came to them is because, well, they've got a better bench and they're great players too. In retrospect, I am thrilled with the results from last night. Now, I don't want to see a lot of that this year. That's not a good way to get through the season. That's how hamstrings get pulled with all that sprinting and stuff. That's no way to do 38 games plus a cup run, man. Right? Can you imagine how difficult this year is going to be if we go deep in a cup? We've got a decent number of players that are going to be playing in the World Cup. We can't have lots of nights like that, Lee. I would be concerned about that. And I'm certain that there's not anything I'm going to say that Eddie doesn't already know 50 times better than I do already. So I've got confidence in their decisions. How about this? I will not look the fool if we finish 8th and get through the year with a cup run and don't lose a lot of players to injury. I will look the fool about being content about the window if something happens, we lose 2 critical players, somebody hurt in the World Cup, we go to a quarterfinal and get a player hurt there, then we might look dumb struggling to get to 10th. That's a horror scenario, but it's possible. But as a whole, I'm content with what we have. It would have been better. What we got here? Sky says we got just a few minutes left in the window here. I'm content with what we've done so far, though. Oh dear, don't let me be soloing this thing. Did we just lose Lee? And I'm on 2 channels. Well, welcome to Newcastle Fans TV. This is Jay. I'll just be taking over the whole website and split in half with no controls. Lee, I do hope you come back soon because this is some real pressure right here. No pressure at all. I'm not even in the studio in Newcastle. Hell, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Love to see some of your comments, though, about the rest of you. Is anybody else content with a window like me, or are more of you feel that we've just failed to be aggressive enough in our management of the window? I have to look over here at some of the comments. All right. Get my windows right here. Yeah, thanks, Steve. Thanks a lot. The funny thing is, if I see there are some other people, I see Caleb in here, I have no ability to bring anybody else on. And look, I can sort of be on one side, or I can ship. Oh, we got somebody back.
Hello, Jay. How are you?
I'm soloing the show. This is the Jay Takeover Show. Welcome to my show.
I'm only jumping back on until Lee gets here because I'm at work. But I'll, yeah. Apologies to everybody watching and listening and all of it. But yeah, I'll ask you one question before Lee jumps back on, Jay. Martin Dubravka's left. Do you think that was Mr. Trick? Because I think we should never have done any business with Manchester United after the way they treated us with Jesse Lingard. I think it was a load of rubbish. I would have told Man United to stuff themselves.
I don't understand it. Number one, we didn't have a lot of value in our squad, and just take a look at our out transfers for the demonstration of that. If Dubravka wants to go because he's not Eddie's favorite, like, I get it. This is a business, and that man needs to get his own, right? I got no problem with that. I do not understand why we would loan him to Manchester United. The only thing that makes any sense to me is if for some reason we thought we might want cover to yank him back, but that's a pretty negative viewpoint. I don't understand it. I don't, and another friends group I have, I'll just chat him. I do not understand that bit of business. I do not wish him ill. I appreciate the work he's done. If he wants to go, I have no problems. He has my blessing. I just do not understand this move from the club. It reeks of some insider information that we're never going to hear about, in my opinion, why they would make this decision.
Yes, Danny.
I'm split in half again, but I'm comfortable with that.
Please come back in, so I'll take myself back to get what's going to.
Right, so we just need to take Johnny away. I can't remove you, Johnny. You're going to have to leave. Sorry.
Yeah. I clearly need more power here, gentlemen. That is the problem. Okay, I don't have enough authority here. So.
Oh, it's wonderful when you go live, Jay, isn't it?
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
It is wonderful. I think Johnny's.
So, hey, Lee, are you comfortable with the window? Are you happy with what we've done? Right? Or are you disappointed we didn't get more, really? Besides just the winger thing you said earlier, are you like really pulled up short and disappointed genuinely?
I think it's a good window. I'm going to fix my camera in a second, but I think it is a good window. I think overall, I think you've got what would you score out of 10? Probably a 9, perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to bring in Andrew. I'll fix my camera. I'll let you two chat about the window, and I'll be literally a minute or two.
Sure.
Hey, Jay.
Hey, Andrew. Good to see you again.
How are you keeping? Good?
Keeping well. Same question to you then. How are you on the window overall?
I think if we hadn't gotten Isaac in, then you could have said it was quite a not disappointing, but when it's been built up to be what it could have been, you know, when we got to the point last season where we thought we were going to get relegated, and we had that belief and hope that if we could just stay in the league, what we were going to be potentially capable of doing. Hadn't we gotten Isaac, I think you probably might have said that it was a little bit underwhelming, but good business. You know, Botman's a top centre half. You know, Matt Target showed last season that he was going to be able to come in and do a job for. I think that was a wise signing, as much as it was probably underwhelming to some people. We know what we're going to get from him. But I'm just a little bit disappointed that we didn't get a winger in that could play right wing and possibly fill in another position. So I think, as you correctly said before, if we're going to try and have a cup run, we're going to need the numbers. But I think Elliot Anderson's probably made the club rethink that.
I think so too. Is there any of the players we were linked to today between Pedro, Samuelson, any of the others didn't come in today? Were there any of those that were recent today that you were like, I hope we get across the line today out of that bunch? They all went away by mid-morning, but were any of those you thought would be good ads?
I had my eye on the Tielemans one, but I didn't think it was going to be very realistic. I think the one that I don't know whether it was just me that's seen this. I don't know how genuine what it was, but Pulisic from Chelsea. If that was a loan deal for a year, I think it might have been worth a stab. Covers 3 positions, so
I would have said.
Oh, go ahead, leave, sir.
Sorry, Jay. I said last night at Anfield that I'll take any one of the Chelsea wingers because it improves us massively. It gives you competition for places, and as I say, we talked about it a little bit earlier, 5-10 minutes ago. As soon as we have injuries, the squad depth isn't there. We've got a great start 11, which can compete with most of the Premier League. As soon as you start taking your John Joe Shelby out, your Alan Saint-Maximin out, your Bruno out, it's just not the same. So I would have took a Chelsea winger in a heartbeat, even if it was Ziyech or even Pulisic as well. I would have took any one of them.
I would have loved Pulisic, not just because he's a fellow American, but because I think that's the kind of thing that makes us more money. I see Newcastle jerseys in Atlanta because of the Miggy deal, right? Way more than I ever did in my couple decades of this. But getting a prominent American player, Americans will get on the bandwagon. We are bandwagoners for the most part. I mean, I'm not a Newcastle fan, but for the most part, that'll sell kits. Kits is money, and it's part of the value of the club. I would have been thrilled both with Pulisic on many levels, as an American, as a strong player, and as somebody that gets more Americans to spend more money on the club across the board. So, but I did not think that was likely. I was in my own group. I was like, this isn't happening, boys. But we will see. I guess I'm content. Like, think of where we are. Like, this is signing day, and we're not like praying at the deadline for some bolt out of the blue to save us, right? Which has been what we've been doing so many of the last years, right? Just so many of the last years. Or we get Willock to finally agree to come back to us. And no disrespect to Willock, but this is just a whole different game right now, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I talk more trash to my football friends than I ever have in 20 years right now. I am difficult to deal with because I am so happy about Newcastle United right now.
Andy, what's the biggest transfer that we've done this summer? Not the biggest. What's the best piece of business incoming?
For me, I think so far you've got to say it's Botman. I'll be honest. I think Sam will probably be screaming at the camera, Isaac. But mate, he should have 2 arguably yesterday, and he's also playing in that team and impressed without ASM in the side, without Wilson in the side. We've got something to look forward to as well. We as much as Liverpool were weakened yesterday, we were too. I'd say Botman, mate, because it's a common presence at the back. He gets a ball at the back and he's getting pressed by 2 players, and if that had been, let's say, that Fernandez or Lejeune or anyone like that we've had in the past getting that kind of pressure, the crowd's probably feeding off the fact that the player's anticipating a tackle and he's not as calm as Botman. I think he's bringing something. They say that if you're building a house, you start at the bottom, and I think Botman's the foundations of this team for the future.
I know you probably touched upon before I had my battery issue, because my battery went, everybody, in case you didn't know. That's a schoolboy error. Dubravka going on loan to Man United, Jay. And number 2 going to number 2. Why is he going to Man United? Is it just he thinks he's going to play more games, which he probably will because he played the Europa League games. But what a great servant. But are you sad to see him go?
I'm more of a Pope fan. I wanted a goalie. We got a goalie. When we first signed Pope, I looked up all the stats as I did, and I kind of went, is he really better? After watching him through the games he's gotten us through this year, yes, I believe so. That doesn't mean Dubravka's bad, but I'm more on the Pope bandwagon now, so I'm not disappointed that he's leaving. And when I think about, his needs as a player, he needs to play and he needs to get paid. I don't blame him for his move. As I was telling Johnny, though, I don't understand why we would loan him to, let's face it, a competitor of ours now. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. I don't understand that. So I don't begrudge him for going to United, even though, like you guys tweeted that picture that Beth tweeted of him watching TV and pulling for Man United. Yeah, that sucks, but that's his job. I don't know. I think there's some behind the scenes stuff we don't know about. That it makes no sense to loan him to Man United when we got effectively no value for any of our other players, and $2 million plus some add-ons if things go well, something like that. Lee, that doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. Not from his point of view, but just from like a business standpoint.
Yeah, I think he will play more. I think he'll play every cup game for Man United, so he's probably going to get 20 games. But it goes to show you, Andy, how far Man United have fallen that they're signing second choice goalkeepers from Newcastle United.
Doesn't it just? Yeah, and I'm loving it. The wife's not quite so fond of what's going on, but yeah, I think Dubravka going to Man United is simply probably been promised the European games, and you know, at 30, what's he, 32, nearly 33? How many more opportunities he's going to have to potentially play in Europe, and probably play 10 games in the cup games for Man United. The money's on them to go a little bit further in the cup than us if history's anything to go off. So he's probably thought he's going to get more games there. Hats off to, good luck to him. He's been a good servant, but I just think it's a little bit like Jay says. You don't want to be doing business with Man United after what they did with us with Lingard, and as you say, how the mighty fall.
Yeah, let's make them fall harder. That's what I say. So.
With a foot on them.
It's just mad how many the sign reserve keepers. But yeah, Dubravka will say I think I'll be made permanent next summer without a shadow of a doubt. So maybe he's got an increase going out on loan. Maybe his wages have gone up. I don't know, but I wouldn't say the best of luck of him because I don't want that. But he's served his time at Newcastle really well over 100 appearances. He's been fantastic. He's gone about his business the right way. He had a bit of competition when Darlow was on form that season. He comes straight back in, and his form dropped a little bit. But then last season, when Eddie Howe come in, because of the strength of the defense, I don't think Dubravka was tested too many times in the second half of that season. Just goes to show you the quality that we've got in front of him now. Mm-hmm. But moving on to Matty.
His tweet was a little bit salty, though, mainly. Sorry not to jump in on you there, mate, but I don't know if you've seen his tweet tonight.
Yeah, come on. Well, I've seen his Instagram post. Come on, Man United.
Sorry,
He sat there in a hotel, it looks like, and cheering them on. Like all of a sudden, he's a Man United fan. I know he said his farewells to Newcastle, and Newcastle's been a great place for him and for his family and whatever. But to do that straight away, literally an hour later.
Agreed. He's not going to get serenaded on a sideline 13 years from now like Shea Given did last night, right? That's not going to happen, right? Was that your camera that had a picture of you guys singing it, Shea Given?
Yeah.
Before the match. That's not going to happen for Martin Dubravka in the future. Like, thank you for your work, but the way that he's left, I think, has left a bad taste in his mouth that goes, and a lot of our people's mouths, that goes way beyond the difference in his ability between him and Pope, which is pretty close in my opinion. I don't think Pope is like twice as good as Dubravka, because Dubravka's a good keeper, but the way you conduct your business, people don't forget that stuff. People do not forget how you handle yourself. That's for sure.
Look at Cabaye. Cabaye's like mixed, isn't it? When Cabaye, what a great player, but people always go, but didn't he leave on bad terms? It's still that bit of doubt in your mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we'll say on that. But Andy, I want to come to you. Obviously, Matty being a local boy, the rumours were it was going to be Barnsley originally this morning, but he's headed out on loan back down the leagues again. Where does his future lie?
Probably where he's going, fortunately. Possibly is he good enough to play in the Championship? Yeah, I think he could be. I mean, he's still young. He's still probably, I noticed in the last 2 years, the lad's still grown. I remember when he first burst onto the scene against Man United, he was quite small then. He was like a ginger Perlo at the time, wasn't he? But, he's definitely grown, and I just think for his sake, he has to go out and, hey, there's nothing to say that he can't go to Colchester, get another move, and be challenging in Championship side to get into the Premier League in the years to come. But I do think that is probably his level. I hope he proves me wrong, man, because when local lads leave the club, the fans see it as a heavy heart as well. We don't want anyone to do well as much as we do with local players. So I wish him the best, and I really do hope that we'd see more of him, i.e. that he's successful. But I think it's a good move for him.
Do you not find that there isn't more clubs that were in from, because he was out on loan at Mansfield last season? Him and Elliot Anderson had great loan spells, and then he's gone down the leagues again. Do you not think he could have got that champ? I mean, the demand from him,
No, I think when him and his brother surfaced as both, near to leaving, what was that, spring 2 years ago, right? When that was all down and there was all the news where they're both leaving, and and at various times they had both had some great spells and then an injury and then came back. I feel like a lot of this got put into the public space during that time, and I think that burned some collateral for them. And then on the other end of that, the loan spells are nice, but he didn't get opportunity to the degree that he had before that, and he didn't deliver in the opportunities that he had. And I think you only got so much time in the bright light window of being the shiny thing to go get. And so fair play to him. I had heard, I don't know Matty's stats exactly, but I had heard that he had an excellent loan spell, but maybe that's not enough to carry you, above Colchester, right? It's kind of my take. I certainly wish him the best, like everybody who's a real fan of Newcastle will wish him the absolute best, and that he plays above his level where he goes. But the truth is, we've just moved on from that position that we were at 2 years ago, and that's for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't look great for him, does it? But I wanted to ask you, Andy, who has a better chance of the future at the club? Because Kel Watts has headed out on loan. Kel Watts or Matty Longstaff?
Kel Watts.
Why?
So I think as a team that's going to be aiming to be competing in Europe, one of your main positions that you have to have quality in is midfield. That's not just starting lineup, that's on the bench as well. You can't afford to have a young, inexperienced centre half there when you've got, the quality. They're going to get more chances than the midfielders, I think. So I think he's in a position on the pitch that might just stand him in good stead forward, because we have got players in the squad that are aging, like Dummett. So, it could be a case of if Dummett at the end of this year calls it, doesn't want to be sitting on the bench, doesn't want to be not playing every week. If he leaves, then Callum Watts straight replacement for him.
Jay, I know, this lad has really thought of Kel Watts under previous regimes as well, management as well, and he's being loaned out now. This must be his 4th year in concession. Obviously, he had an injury at the start of what was a pre-season, so he didn't really feature too heavily. Do you agree with Andy that Watts has a better future with Newcastle than what Matty does now? I know the different positions.
I do, because I'll tell you this, I would just say that if we had to bet on what we've seen the best of either player, I think we've seen the best of Matty. I'm not certain that we've seen the best of Cal. Now, that's a long shot. That's 4 years of being loaned, but if I had to, bet on a position, I think Andrew's right here. And we need a whole squad. Eddie's got to be looking at the depth chart and everything the same way that we do, and has seen the results of these matches. I think he's going to be looking for players that can serve minutes, right? That's critical, right? Look how gassed we are at 60, 65 minutes against some of these teams. And you look at our bench and it's like, okay, if we're ahead, maybe we can hold on. But if we're even or behind or getting outplayed, you don't look at our bench right now. And I think maybe somebody like Cal, who could benefit from one more loan spell, I think it's possible that he could do better. And I don't think that Matty could have played his way back up to the top level. So between those two, I agree with Andrew.
Yeah, Kel Watts is really highly thought of. So we'll have to see how we get on. But competition at Newcastle at the moment for centre-back, especially with Fabian Schär, Dan Burn, and Sven Botman, is very, very high at the moment. But one man who has left the club very last minute, we did expect it, Andy, was Federico Fernandez. He has joined Elche on loan, effectively ends his Newcastle career because he's only got 1 year left on his deal. What do you make of his time at Newcastle?
I think if you could, I remember looking back at the time when we signed him, and it was quite a fee, if I remember. I think it was close to 6 million, and I thought, wow, he's going to have to do well for us to repay that, considering his age that he was at the time. I think it was 27, 28 when he signed for, and you're thinking how much you're going to get out of him. He came up with work, done well with work, went down with work, did well, came back. He's been as loyal as you want a player to be. He's probably helped some of the youngsters come through, that he's that type of player that gets involved. Hats off. I think we'll look back at his time at this club and say what a good servant he was, and to my knowledge, he's never really let her down. I mean, he's had bad games like everybody, but I don't think he's the type of player that you could either point a finger at and say he doesn't work hard enough. He's never tried to be organised and stay fit. I think good servant for the club. Good luck to him.
I think it was exactly 4 years today. I think it was deadline day was signed from Swansea, because I remember me and Rob were on Sky Sports News live in the studio that day, where I was told not to swear.
Hey, I see this comment here, Lee. Pat is saying, sorry, Yankee, maybe Cal is going to be free next year. And if that's true and he's out on loan, I thought he had one more. If he's out on loan this year, then he's going to be moved on as well, too. Right? I did not realize that. But if that is the case between those two, then that's a done story. So I did not realize that. That doesn't make sense to me then.
I think he's the type of player for me, lads. I don't know if you agree, but if you don't have someone like that in the Championship, you probably don't get out of the Championship.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but Fernandez has been, I just remember being there at Sky Sports and kicking off, and I think what a crap window, because it was Mike Ashley at the time, Federico Fernandez, and it was like, yeah, he's an all right signing, but for the first couple of years, he was first choice. A regular for Newcastle, he was in with, it was him, Lascelles, and Kieran Clark. He was one of those three week in, week out, and remember Rafa in particular played three at the back for a while. And he was the mainstay, and you showed great form. And yeah, the last year and a half or so, his form's dipped. He's fell out of order. His injuries have crept up as well. But I would probably say that his time at Newcastle is fondly remembered for better reasons. He didn't kick off, and Jay brought in your man Miggy. He took him under his wing, and learned him the language, and because they became best pals. And we're having the Argentine brew, whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called. It's Jay.
Yeah.
You'll probably know, but what do you make of his time at Newcastle?
I'm thrilled. He's my favorite player, of course, with good reason. But that doesn't. I'm not deluded about his ability. I understand where he is, and I think he's playing better, and I'm very happy about that. I think it's 2 seasons lost under Bruce. I think he's one of the players that suffered the most under the Bruce insanity, and many players suffered under the Bruce insanity. I'm thrilled to see him doing better. The moment we sign another winger, he will be relegated to a support player, a critical sub. I mean, you bring on that kind of energy at minute 60, that is a difference maker. He'll do well. This is his last year with us. I'm pretty confident this will be his last year with us. I'm not happy about that, but it just is what it is. Love him, thrilled with him. Just want to enjoy every minute I can get with him on the pitch. I've been around him. He was the same way here in Atlanta, exactly the same way. That is one happy human soul, it sure looks like, and I couldn't be happier for him. So
no, it's good to see Miggy turn the form around, and that turn that he did on Robertson last night.
That was class. Even the commentators were like, "Whoa!" Like that.
Yeah. Seen Jack Grealish do that lately?
Can't even get on the pitch, can he? Just a couple of other things as well. Obviously, deadline day has been fairly quiet for Newcastle income and a lot of outgoings for loans. But talking about loans, Andy, people who were kind of shift out the club properly, Kieran Clark, Isaac Hayden, Jeff Hendrick, who are sitting around. I was a little bit surprised about Isaac Hayden because I thought he might be used at least as a squad player. But the other two, do you feel like Newcastle are contributing towards their wages still?
I'd be very surprised if we weren't, I'll be honest. And you consider, I think Hayden signed a new deal, didn't he, just a year before we sent him out on loan. I might be wrong there, but I'm sure he got a wage increase. Then you're talking good money for a Championship side to be paying his full wage. So yeah, I'd be extremely surprised if we're not paying at least 50% in. If you look at Hayden and Clark, if that's not costing us 50 grand a week, 40 grand a week, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
So that's 2 million a year. So this, like you say, that there's still some money to be getting off the books yet in the future. And I think when we start doing that, we'll start seeing we're doing more Isaac signings.
Yeah.
And any MLS players, big MLS players move?
Nothing came across my feed, but I wouldn't declare we need Soccer Steve to be up on all those details. But to be fair, I did neglect some of my work today while following the trends. This is what I do every year, right? And I love the Sky madness at the end of the day and everything. So I did see that an English player went back to Stoke, but not a primary player. He's going back on the other side. So, but none of the players I follow. So
yeah, don't Peacock can now tap into Sky Sports and broadcast it live now, don't they, over there? It's the same company. It's the same company, isn't it? NBC, Peacock, Sky. They're all owned by Comcast, aren't they?
There's always a VPN to get you what you want to see. So,
yeah. Overall, the transfer window has been. We've got to say, lads, it's been a good transfer window, because if you talk about, you just fast forward 12 months ago, it was horrendous. The lads, especially Sam and Johnny, make a joke about Hamza Chowdhury all the time, not feeling to get him on loan. If you look at it now, the January transfer window, you look at now the window, I'm really excited about Isak. I am really excited. Seeing him in action at Anfield, and I already knew about his technical abilities. They were on show, but the high pressing, he's already doing that under Eddie Howe. I don't know if Sociedad play the high pressing, but he was really good at it. Took his both goals, which should have stood, in my opinion, really, really well. I know, Andy, you said Botman you're excited by. Jay, who are you excited by all the incoming this summer?
Well, it's to me, this isn't a cop-out. I'm actually just, Bruno is a miracle, and everything else that has happened through this summer is off of that. Without him, we don't get these other players. And I know you kind of want me to talk about the summer transfers, and everybody knows that Bruno is magic and wears some magic hat. But in any case, he's the engine. He's why we are where we are. He's why we can play the way we play. He's why it's all happening, and he makes me the most excited of all the players. But for Isaac to come in and show that composure, I remember Sam raving about him back in the fall. Obviously, Sam got to strut around like a peacock the other day saying, "I told you so," which is fine. When you're right, you should be credited for, the stuff you say. When you're wrong, you should get teased about it. But that was
plenty of videos teasing Sam, mind.
Exactly. But Isaac was one cool customer several times. Like, it looked like this was his 10th time being at the Cup, right? Like, he did not look like somebody who was adjusting to the speed and violence of the Premier League. Nope. He looked at somebody like, cool, watch this, hold my beer, right? I was utterly impressed. And apparently the big knock that I know is his lack of consistency. Okay, whatever the internet says that. Well, that's exactly who Eddie Howe can fix, right? He seems to be a master at wringing consistency out of people at some level. So I think this could really be a match made in heaven. So after Bruno being the engine for our team, I wasn't excited about Isaac as much as I am now. Man,
we can talk about Bruno all night, because I'm pretty happy to.
But I got to Isaac over it. We would have never signed Isaac if not for Bruno. It just wouldn't have happened. That's not the way those cards would have been played.
I think one of the best things with having Bruno as well is every window, if he keeps playing well for us, there's going to be speculation around him, which forces our owners to keep up with his expectations of the story that he's been told is going to happen at Newcastle. When you have players that's in demand, that puts pressure for me on our owners to say, right, what we promised you, what we're going to do, we're going to have to deliver. And I think, the fact that the Real Madrid talk happened, there's no coincidence that Isaac came in £60 million. We're going to make sure that we are competitive, so you don't need to leave.
Well, is that not the statement that it's a record transfer? Because that's now being broken. Well, joint, because Bruno Guimaraes add-on, so they've smashed it. You know what I mean? They've gone and blew it by over 20 million. If a Newcastle to spend that kind of money, I think it's in the top 20 of all Premier League transfers, and we're the only club in that top 20 outside your traditional big six. So it's a statement and a half, and hopefully
it's no more of a percentage overpay than we overpaid for Wood, who we did overpaid for, and we needed him. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's bad business, and I think we paid $25 million for Wood, right? Which is what, 50% over, right? Something like that. So, I mean, in many ways, I think the Isaac deal on a percentage basis might have been tidier business than the damn Wood deal was. That's just speculation on my part there.
Fan there. Pat's a big fan of Jay.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why I tried to take over the channel earlier, Pat. So
No, thank you for that. Thank you for that, because my battery had to do what I did. It was a
I
schoolboy.
genuinely was panicking. Like I was like, "Oh crap!" And we're live. I was like, "Cut."
Oh, because I didn't charge my laptop open. I thought I had enough battery, and then just went boom. And then because I used 2 monitors, I've got one there as well. I could save myself just cut off on the stream as well. I'm like, shit. Johnny jumped on to Johnny jumped on. So yeah, we're excited about the transfer window, and I look at deadline day is always excitement for a lot of fans. We know that a lot of people are glued to the TVs and the phones and everything all day, which is great excitement. Obviously, there hasn't been too many incomings, but overall, you look at the whole of the year, Andy. Who's your favourite, including January?
Including January, it's got to be Bruno. Yeah.
Oh, so you change your mind about Botman now?
No. I thought you were just referring to this window or previous. I mean, don't get us wrong. He's a class ahead of everybody on the team. Well, not a class above, but you notice the difference in the side when he's not in the team. The last 2 games, I'm convinced that if he was playing yesterday, we win that game.
Absolutely.
I'm absolutely convinced by it. And then you've got to argue that 2 of the best centre halves weren't playing either, and Wilson wasn't playing. So, and the other thing is if you're going to get the best out of Isaac, you want Bruno on the side as well. So it's not just a case of controlling the games, but also being potent up front. I think he's massive to that. He might not be the person making the assist, but it's how good he is in transition. As soon as we win the ball, his head is up, and it's quick. He doesn't. I don't want to compare it. It's not fair on Longstaff, but there's a few times last night in transition, Longstaff got his head up, then turned, then played the ball. Bruno isn't like that. It's all in one motion, and it's impossible to defend against sometimes. So Bruno, sorry, mate.
All right, Yanks are taking over because we're joined by Steve.
All right.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? What's going on?
Steve, who's your favorite? We'll start summer transfer window and then give us a second answer for in total this year.
Okay. Favorite transfer of everyone?
No, we're sticking with Newcastle. We're not talking about your 8 clubs.
Is it only
favorite from? Yeah, definitely favorite. I'd have to go Isak. I'm obvious. I love good defending and all that, and Botman gives Isak a real run for his money, but I think we've hit the nail on the head 100% with Isak. I just think he offers so much in attack that's new to how we play, and it offers a skill set that we haven't seen in any Newcastle play for quite some time, to be honest, to be able to take the ball off the left, be able to draw 2 defenders, get tight shots in on goal. Very, very precise dribbler, but he's got the frame of a real strong guy. So I'm very excited about Isak personally. And we needed a striker. For me, that was my number 1 priority, because as excellent as Callum Wilson is, me and every other Newcastle fan keeps on saying the same thing. You just can't rely on him consistently, week in, week out. He pulls up with the hamstring. He pulls up with the muscular something. It's disappointing, but it's football. It's a ruthless business. And the hardest job in all of football, the guys who get the biggest bucks are the ones who put the ball in the net, particularly strikers. So for me, it's Isak, but Botman gives a real good run for his money. And Nick Pope also, very shrewd signing. So that's my 2 cents.
I think it has to be the most underrated signing. It's got to be Matty Target. It's got to be.
Yes. Because he's not a sexy signing by any means, but he's extremely solid. He's extremely solid at left back. Doesn't offer too much in the attack, can every once in a while, but it certainly offers more than Dan Burn at left back, but he's as good as Dan Burn as left back. And Dan Burn does a good job at left back too, so it's nice to have some relative squad depth in some cases.
There were people that didn't want us to sign Target back. I remember reading comments like, don't sign it back, and I was like, what are you on about? That's
like Liam and Sam from the channel.
I remember that one in particular, but just that's crazy. Like that's us 3 years from now when we're like, don't sign Target back. But that wasn't us at the time, and I think he's done well for us since then.
Yeah, great signing. And we're not even mentioning Trippier and the whole this year as well. I mean, what a signing he's been, and even his influence off the pitch.
He is.
Carl Fields, thank you very much for your donation for a £5. Thank you. Nice work, lads. Buzzing with the lushness around the club and the city at the moment, which is great. I want to talk about, because since I've got you, Jay, financial fair play. Is this going to catch up with Newcastle eventually then?
Maybe, but we're in an interesting time. Let me be clear. I'm not trying to represent myself as a world expert on financial fair play and its migration, which is happening right now to the FSR regulations.
Yeah.
The whole way it's all being calculated is changing. And there's basically kind of a net zero policy that's going to come into play. And it's some accounting crap that most of us don't want to talk about. I do, but other people don't. But the point is, the way you carry players is going to change. How you carry their debts on your books. And that's going to start in June of 2023. What that means is that we have this weird window that is not going to be fully accounted for right now. And I think we have smart people at Newcastle. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get a bunch of players for free, but the whole accounting system is going to change. And then the time ratios, the ratio of your valuation is going to crank downwards over a few years from 90 to 80 to 70. So the point is, this is the time to spend money. Now, if you overspend, you may run out of the window, but it is a fact that there is more play in the system this year right now than there will be next year. And also remember, a contract, when you sign Jay in Atlanta for 60 million quid, right, that doesn't go on the 2022 books, right, as 60 million. It gets amortized over time and a bunch of other dumb financial stuff that nobody really cares about. But The truth is, I think we're riding the line a little bit, Lee. I've been trying to. The truth is, you just don't really get the inside information to see the books until years later for real when they declare things. But I think we're pushing it a little bit, but I think we can. I think we have enough smart people that are doing the maths to get this right. So I think we will get through, and now is the time to spend the money. And then after this, since we have to go into net zero, the idea is sell more kits, right? Sell more anything outside that is brand value. And then that raises your top number, right? And that gives you more space underneath that. So I think we're okay. Even at 220, it's 220 for the year, right? I think that's something like that for the year, right? That's nuts. This is Newcastle. This is awesome. Yeah. But also, I don't think we're going to be allowed to break it. Not the way that City did for a while. Like, people are watching us like a hawk, right? Like, we're just not going to be allowed to run wild.
To even get the owners in, it was a very, very thorough process to back up on that.
Like with Barcelona, when they got told, you got to deal with this and that, and you got to deal with registering as players and everything. Well, you're way over the line to even get that far. I don't think we'd even get that far out of line before somebody started showing up. There are certain accounting intervals that matter in the year. I'd actually love to do a whole video on this, Lee, with you, just for the people that would want to hear it. Certain people would watch the video. Not as people really care about this, but I do think my kind of swag estimate is that we're still okay even at 220.
Just to touch upon that, because there's a great comment about Nottingham Forest, because Nottingham Forest, I've not seen any promoted side go crazy like they have on. It's over 20 players. I think last time I seen it, it was about 8 o'clock tonight. It was 21 players.
Yeah,
some of them are lesser players, but some top players in there. Obviously, the Brazilian Lodel, is that what it's called?
Renan Lodi from Atletico.
Lodi, sorry. And then they've obviously signed Emmanuel Dennis and so on. And
Batshuayi has went, hasn't he?
Yeah, Batshuayi on loan was rumoured tonight as well. They've gone a bit daft. So, Jay, does that affect Forest, or is that because you're saying that they've got a load of money?
If you're in a casino, what you're looking at is an individual push all their chips in, right, in some whatever game you want to play. Because they were at 20 players earlier today. I don't know, maybe higher than that by now. And there's only a 25-man squad. So that's absolute madness. It depends on the ratio of the outs to ins. But they're going to benefit from the same situation that Newcastle is in a different level of scale. So if they stay up, and how long was Nottingham Forest out?
22?
Something like that. So they get that money. But if they can raise, remember, these new net zero things don't kick in until June 2023. And I'm not saying there are no rules between now and then, but there are different rules. I'm definitely not in the detail on them, but it looks like an aggressive play. And I don't know. It makes me almost sort of pull for Nottingham Forest, just because we've seen other clubs, Wolves and other promoted sides, that have gone really hard back in the day. And
Yeah.
Wolves still up from it, but lots of others aren't. Man, if they don't, it's not going to be good. They have to stay up with these transfers.
I think they will, to be
I
fair
think
to
they're
them.
going to be eaten alive if they don't. So, Lee, that's just another club. This is a strange window of new rules coming. And you can go, it's FSR, Financial Stability Regulations. You can Google it. You can read it. It seems reasonable, but the devil's always in the details. And it will only get tighter over the next 4 or 5 years. So act now.
What's interesting is Scott Parker come out. He was sacked. Brendan Rodgers has come out and had a go at the board tonight. I don't know if any of you have seen that. He's basically turned around and said, simple fact is I haven't been backed in the transfer market, which Leicester
He'll be gone soon, Rogers. He'll be gone very, very soon.
Leicester bottom the league at the minute. But
yeah.
what about the Premier League for the last 10 minutes or so? Andy, I'll come to you. Best signing of the summer so far, who was it?
In the Premier League? Oh, wow, that's a question you've sprung on us there, Lee.
Well, LFTV.
I'm ready.
I'll say my 50 pence. Whilst I ask everyone that I'm going to go with Erling Haaland. I think Manchester City have needed a striker since prime Aguero, and he costs less than Isak as well. And his goal scoring records in Austria to Germany, and now he's gone up to Manchester City, 2 hat-tricks back-to-back. He could become the first player to do a triple hat-trick this weekend in the Premier League. Yes, I know football started before 1992, before anyone jumps in the comments. But I'm going to go with Haaland because Manchester City, I think, will run away with the league this year. I don't think Liverpool will be close. So I think the signing of the season, for me, is Erling Haaland.
Jesus.
Hey, you stole my thunder. Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Sorry, Jay.
Carry it across the line. Speak well on it.
Why Jesus? Yes. What's he going to bring to Arsenal?
Guarantee goals, and I haven't had that for a good while.
Not since really, have I?
And he fits the way they play. That's the difference. Aubameyang was all good and well. The problem with Aubameyang was Lacazette, and the problem with Lacazette was Aubameyang. For me, them two.
And to be fair, Andy, at one point they had a good partnership. I just think something happened behind the scenes, possibly, because they did. Lacazette will play as the 10 and Aubameyang up top, and they did relatively well.
I just think the rest of the team suffered for them too. That's all. I think they've got a lot more balanced squad now, and arguably, I mean, people say on about Tuchel at Chelsea, etc., etc. If you give Arteta the squad that he's had at his disposal for the last 12 months compared to Arteta, I think Tuchel's quite been fortunate that he's not under a little bit more pressure than he already is. And the amount of money that he's went and spent this summer only adds to the pressure on him. So,
can I just double down on that, Lee? I think it is seldom you see a problem and a player that can solve your problem just line up like square peg in perfect square hole. It's a lot of great players. People do good business, but and Jesus from the drop has just gone wild over there. It's just not that common. I also want to say that I wish did Aubameyang Chelsea get done? I'm sorry, I was chatting here. I didn't even see. Did that actually get done?
He was close to, wasn't he? I don't know if it's gone through, but as long as the paperwork's done before 11 p.m.
I think that's not going to go as well as Chelsea hopes it does, and it's not because Aubameyang can't play. He's a great player. He scored a lot of goals, and whatever happened with him as Arsenal's different, but he is not the player that he was a few years ago. And I'm not certain that he's going to fuse in there as well. Not that he won't get his. Like, it's not like you're going to stop that man. But I do not. I've just been watching that, and I've been wondering who's going to lose at the Aubameyang lottery. And I just don't wish him well. Don't even dislike the guy much. I think it's going to be tough for him to have bailed so quickly, gone down there, and then come back like this. That's a tough ask right there.
Steve, I'll come to you in a second. Let's go to you, Jay. Obviously, touch upon Jesus. The key thing is staying fit for Arsenal. If he stays fit, could Arsenal mount a title challenge, or is that too much? Well, if you think, hear me out. Liverpool don't look as good as what I don't think that Liverpool are. So I think that second place could be up for grabs this year. I think Man City will run away with it. I think Arsenal could compete to a certain point. I then City run away. Assuming Jesus stays fit.
You asked me this question in July, and I make the same sound Steve just did. Right? You ask me that question right now, after a few weeks of this season. I don't know. I'm not saying that Arsenal has a better squad than City. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that maybe they are not completely invulnerable, and certainly Liverpool is not performing. It's early days yet, but I don't think it is an unreasonable question that Lee is asking. I really don't. I think, how about this? It's as up for as much. People used to say, like, what's the big two, and there's a huge gap. Is there? Is there really? Because look at little old Newcastle down here roughing up some big boys and frankly making them look stupid in the process.
Yeah.
Making them look stupid. And we only lost because they kind of outman us here and there, and that almost didn't matter in both matches. So if we can do it, and certainly Arsenal's lineup is stronger than ours. I like ours better. I wouldn't take theirs. They can keep theirs. I like our boys. But I don't think it's an unreasonable question. Now, I wouldn't bet on that, Lee. I mean, I'd get real good odds if you did, right? Man, I don't know. Maybe Arsenal could do it. And God, I don't like them. I don't like them. I don't want them to do well. I got several friends who support Arsenal. Makes me hate them even more. But it's not an unreasonable question, Lee. Lee, are you just asking the question, or do you really think it's possible?
I think that second place could be up for grabs this season.
I agree with that sentiment. I'll give you that.
So I don't.
Arsenal's biggest problem, Spurs.
Thank you.
Spurs' biggest problems being Spursy.
Well, Spurs beat themselves to leave titles.
I think right now, and I mean, I might change my mind after the World Cup and stuff, and when the games come thick and fast again. I think second place is up for grabs. I really do. I don't think Liverpool are as good as what they were, and it could be between Arsenal, it could be a Spurs, it could be Liverpool, really, really tight. I think City will run away. Before the World Cup, I think that's key that the rest of the league stays in touch with City because the scoring goals for fun. They are conceding a few. Jay has a big brain, says Jake.
Hey, what was that other thing earlier? So I know a lot of stuff, but I don't know what a packet of something was earlier. I don't know if I should be in or not. I'll laugh anyway. But I was like, what the hell is that?
I think it was a Raji. It's a what's the phrase, Andy? A Raji? It's more like he's mad. He's mad. Steve, sign another summer.
Value for money strictly. I'm gonna go Erling Braut Haaland. I mean, I kind of have to, but I'm gonna point out three others that I absolutely love: Jake Doucouré to Palace, Tyler Adams to Leeds,
American.
And
you just knew he was gonna have another three there, didn't you?
He's a good player. And the third one, gonna go for Aaron Hickey at Brentford. Estupinian at Brighton too. I think he's gonna make some real good noise. He's gonna be fantastic for them. So I mean, Haaland number one. That's my answer. But I'm a big fan of the Leeds transfer so far because while yes, he is American and all that, and Mark Roca also deserves credit to replace a player. And I don't even really rate Calvin Phillips necessarily that high like some people do, but in that team you can't deny that he played his part, and there were reasons why they got promoted and whatnot. To replace a player like that in the market, it's not easy to do necessarily. I mean, Tyler Adams has Champions League experience, very good player for RB Leipzig. So I'm a big fan of that. And I'm also a fan that Marsh got backed in the window, and it's good to have an American manager. I know. I'm not a Leeds fan by any means.
It's just Ted Lasso, man.
Question, Lee. Does people think the fact that Lucas Paqueta went to West Ham, is that a good thing in the sense of if Newcastle still remain interested in him, is that a good thing? Or is it?
I don't think Newcastle were ever interested in him. I think it's
I thought Ollie Bernard said we were.
Nah, I think it's a fantasy. I do. I think it's just it's Bruno's pal. That's where it ends. I think that's it. Okay. And Bruno may have said at the club, look, you want to look at this guy because he's Brazil's number 10 and you'll see him at the World Cup and he'll do bits. But I don't think as far as my way he's pronounced it as Paqueta.
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 Yeah.
Because I was getting
just like Guimarães, how you say it. It's Guimaraes.
Not only that, Ollie did only say that they were talking about him. He never actually really said, well,
okay.
they're going to sign him. He did just say that they're talking about him, I think, if I remember correctly.
I'm sorry, Ollie.
But I just think, if you are still interested in a player, and it's a big gamble, £50 million, isn't it best to let another team be guinea pig first?
No, we'll see. I think he'll do bits for West Ham. I think it'll be a great buy.
I'm interested because when he went to AC Milan at first, that's where he started his European adventure. He was awful for them. He really was. He had a good first few games, but then just fell off a cliff. Him and Piontek at Milan. They started off real hot, but they took a real tumble, and it took them. Piontek still hasn't found his feet. He's at Salernitana in Serie A right now. After spells with Hertha Berlin and Fiorentina, and he couldn't find anything. So, but on the Paqueta side of thing, he's been magnificent for Lyon. So we'll see how he does in the Prem. I think he's got every chance to, and I think the player that came in from Brazil that went to AC Milan is a very different player, both physically and mentally, compared to the one we see now. I think he's just more ready for it. His attitude is much more better. I think he's gotten experience in a top league in France, so at a big club in Lyon, a very demanding fan base, and West Ham have great support and all that. So I think he will succeed. He definitely will succeed. But you're right, Lee. It is like a guinea pig sort of thing where it's like we'll see how Paqueta adjusts to the Prem if we want to get him. The only problem is if we wanted Paqueta, even if he flopped, problem is that would West Ham sell to a rival necessarily? Well, you can make an argument both ways because Raheem Sterling left Man City to Chelsea. Yeah. And also Arsenal obviously poached Gabriel Jesus. He went to Arsenal and whatnot. So, and Dubravka to Manchester United, you know what I mean? So, and we're technically rivals with them for.
We're just helping Man United out for the time being. That's all.
Yeah. We're
a bit of help.
Everybody now. We're not going to be anybody's second favorite club or neutral thing for much longer.
I don't care.
No, I don't either. I don't care at all. We're going to be taking points from players, and I love that Eddie Howe last night said, "I don't care if we got booed off. We came here to win." Right?
Last night was just full of bitter Liverpool fans because they struggled to beat. Yes, we time wasted. Yes, we did that, but there's going to be a lot of clubs that try and do this, and obviously we were getting abuse outside the ground last night, and I couldn't help myself on the last word. I just said, "Come and say that in my face," because
Lee, I thought you were going to kick off there for a minute. I was like, "Oh God, Lee." Okay.
It's not often I do, but he just kept going and kept going, and he was howling abuse. I think what?
I was sitting watching that in the kitchen, and more or less went, "What the heck's going on in that video?" I was like, "Oh."
It's just like you just won a game, and he's very bitter. It's a strange.
I know. I was about to say that. If we win a game, St. James's Park, I can say Palace on Saturday and Palace time waste, but we win. I'm going to be over the moon. I don't care what happened. Won the game. I'm not bitter about that at all. And I don't. But thing is, I don't even see Palace doing that because they can actually play football. To be fair, a lot of teams when they go to Anfield, they get stifled. And that was most of our B team out there last night. To be honest.
Question here: who are rivals? Wolves, West Ham. Anybody on the backside of Europe right now?
Right, another one.
Yeah, they're not happy about us, and we're going to be taking points off these clubs, and I'm excited about that. Yeah, sure, we're not really the rivals of the top four, though we will take points from some of them from time to time. We are no longer easy pickings, but the rest of us, I mean, they're on notice, and Eddie Howe is unafraid. We spent 2 years just saying, God, I wish the lads would just try and we play forward and try to play some attacking football.
Don't lose by too much.
Eddie Howe. Okay, will go forward and press. There's no doubt about that.
I seen a good clip earlier today, and it was TalkSport the day that the takeover got announced, and the guy, the ex-Chelsea player that's on that, I can't remember his name. That's him. He's on with, I think it's
some other bearded guy,
Henry or something, and the first caller comes on and says, "Oh, I want Eddie Howe," and did it, and they're ripping the absolute mick out of him. Yeah.
I think they said,
I won't have to phone him up and apologise to him because let's be honest. I'd be perfectly honest sitting here. I would have taken Emery ahead of Eddie Howe at that time. I would have. I think a lot of people would have. But you can only base it on what we've been able to see from Eddie Howe. It would be interesting to see if we do hit a slump at some time in the season and we struggle with injuries or whatever. I've always said that what makes managers good or brilliant is when you have that dip and then they're able to recover. We haven't had that dip yet under him. And he did have them with Bournemouth. He had massively great runs with Bournemouth when you consider how competitive you thought Bournemouth should have been and how they were. And sometimes they did struggle to recover the form. So that's the only
because
thing.
They were Bournemouth with the budget and the
correct, exactly.
Could I bring Lee, do you mind if I bring us back to like a transfer subject?
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy that we have our powder dry for January. Now, you never want to do a lot of business in January, and you cannot expect Bruno Guimaraes to fall from the sky every January. But I think this tight schedule, we are hurt because of the tight schedule and the way we play. Other teams will be hurt because of the tight schedule and the way they play. And then we're going to load up players. We're going to have players in the World Cup. Lots of other teams can have players in the World Cup. It's going to be a tighter window. World Cup, bam, you're back, a little bit of break. I said this earlier, Lee. I think a lot of clubs are going to be broken in January to some degree. And I think I'm not saying it's some, 3D, 4D chess move to not spend money right now, but I believe we'll have dry powder in January to deal with the inevitable. And I don't think we're going to have like 80 million to fire off in January, and that's usually dumb money. But I think we can make some value plays in January that would serve us well to hold us in the table because we haven't acted right now. What do you guys think about that position?
Totally agree with you.
Totally.
And if we are in a good league position, it gives us big clout to go and get players that might not have been on the radar beforehand. I think you've hit on. Me and Steve had this conversation a couple of nights ago later on.
Yeah.
And I said if we're in a pretty decent position, say 7th, 8th in the league come January, we may be able to take that step a little bit quicker than we expected.
I just hope Moussa Diaby doesn't have a great World Cup. If he goes on and has a great World Cup of France, it'll come back and bite us in the arse. So I think
I don't think they will. I don't think they will, to be fair.
Well, there's always people that do better, and there's always people that do worse, right? That's just the nature of Europe and of the World Cup and everything. But I think this is going to be really stressful. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, this is crazy. And the only match I even care about is the U.S. versus England, which could have been on Thanksgiving Day over here, which would have been like the best ever. But it's being the Friday after that. The rest of it, I just want our players to come back and not be busted, right? But this is madness playing this in the middle of the winter like this, and it is what it is, and it's not going to change. But I think it's going to be really stressful on the whole system. And now the teams that have cup runs, which is what we all want, like our whole channel is like, just give us a cup run, like please give us a cup run. Well, man, that's going to be an ugly bit of business, right?
It's a unique challenge, and I'm up for it. And you know what? What I'm very optimistic about is that if you look at the other Premier League clubs, the vibe around the clubs, it's not a objective thing to measure. It's a subjective. I think the vibe around our club and the characters that Eddie Howe has held up high, and the guys that he's instilled faith in, and the mentality of the club from top to bottom, fans included also in that, is brilliant. The atmosphere, the overall atmosphere is brilliant. Like, what we did last night, we lost, but we were uber competitive with our B team with much lesser skilled players than our starting 11. And even though Liverpool did, they still had the much better starting 11 on paper. So I think that kind of stuff, I don't think that kind of stuff just goes away because clearly the players are playing for the badge, playing for Eddie Howe and all that stuff. So I'm a bit worried about injuries, of course, and Jay, that's nothing to take from what you said. It's absolutely true. Some clubs will be in real trouble, injuries wise in January or whatever. But I just think like when we're on the pitch, we've got Eddie Howe in charge. Like it's crazy what adrenaline and all this stuff can do. I just think the atmosphere around the club can carry us to something special. Like before the season started, I said we were gonna, I think 7th, and we'll win the FA Cup. People thought, that's a bit much, but
it's a bit much, but it's possible.
It's possible. I just
take a League Cup. Take a League Cup. I said this numerous of times. I don't care about England. England go and win the World Cup. Great. Great for England. Yeah, great for the nation. But I want to see my club, Newcastle, win the League Cup.
I'm with you, Lee. Club before country all day.
You know, any day of the week.
Yeah, ab club before country. Do not be confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Right, lads, I think we can wrap it up there. So, Jay, thank you very much for saving the day earlier on.
That's
Thank
me.
you very much.
Thanks for the chance.
Andy, thanks for popping on. And Steve,
Thanks, Anders.
thanks for popping on late on. That is it, everyone, for the transfer window. I think we're all pretty happy for Newcastle that they've done really good business, smashed the transfer window. Probably slight negatives that we didn't get that winger in, but overall, I think we're all going to be pretty happy with a lot of the income and big money as well, which the owner said that they'll do. So they've backed their words. From all of us tonight, that's been the Deadline Day special. Have a lovely day wherever you are across the world. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.